Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. This is our ninth week of conversations with artists, curators, and many other people who are interested in the world of art. We start this series of art talks to support our artists that we represent on the Art Design Project. It's an online platform where we not only represent emerging but also established artists. And today we have the privilege to speak with a woman that have an amazing career and is incredibly a source of information and decision in the world of art, being the director worldwide of Phillips, which is one of the most important auction houses in the world. We have these conversations. Thank you to Charlie Shives, which is a great friend and a fantastic also artist who was the director of that department many years ago. We're going to join now this conversation. We're going to invite now Vanessa from her house in New York after an amazing week for her. This week was the auction of photographs of Phillips, which was incredible. I recommend everybody to go and see it online. Let's just wait for her to connect. Jeez. Vanessa,
Hi.
how are you? Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, it is impossible to put together my level of appreciation to begin with, and to let know everybody up there how accomplished and how your decisions, your taste, your guidance have made the photographic department of Philips one of the pioneers of photography, something that we love. And I start always trying to understand how do we met.
Okay. Well, are you referring to the Charlie Shives connection?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Well, I heard you say earlier. So Charlie Shives is a former colleague, former boss of mine from Phillips when he oversaw the photographs department. And then we very quickly bonded over our passion for art in general and his passion for life and his exuberance and how funny he is. I live in the same neighborhood as him. And so we had a lot in common. And he's the one who, made the introduction between the two of us, which any friend of Charlie's is a friend of mine.
That's very kind. Thank you so much for giving us this time. I also mentioned before that you have such an incredible week. The auction was incredibly successful, incredibly entertaining. And as I mentioned to you before, you have pushed this sort of all auction house to be fun, to be approachable. People can join, online, be part, buy, not only established photographers, but you very much interested in pushing emerging photographers. Why do you have that sort of, how you can juggle that sort of thing between the established and the emerging?
Well, I always believe you should buy what you love. And it's very diverse on what people are interested in. And my colleagues and I, and a department is only as strong as the members of its team. And I truly believe that. In our department, I have enough interest in common and also enough interest that it's not in common. So all of us are going out there and we're just looking, we're listening to our clients, we're seeing what's selling, what's not selling, what could be really exciting in the future, but maybe not ready for secondary market yet. And that's one of the best parts of our job, is exploring and finding new artists and then following their career for a few years until we feel like they are ready to be on secondary, which is really important, because if you put an artist too soon on the secondary market, I should clarify for people what the secondary market is.
Please do.
The primary market is when an artist is in a gallery and they're being sold through the gallery. Secondary market is when the work is no longer available at that gallery and the only way to purchase it is second time around. So at that point is when it comes to auction for the most part, and there are some exceptions. So a lot of artists we see on the primary market, we're super interested in, and we're following their career and waiting for them to be strong enough for the secondary market. there's a lot of responsibility there because we don't want to put an artist on the secondary market and not have them perform well, because then we feel we've hurt their market, and we are only there to be supportive and place them in amazing collections. So we take that very seriously when we introduce an artist to auction, and to make sure we found the right buyer and place them in the right collection and make sure it helps their career only.
No, I do respect some major level of responsibility for you guys to present the work that you guys introduce in every auction. And, I have to mention that 2018 was just one of the biggest years for Phillips and the photograph department. How that experience working almost 14 years in Phillips, and nurture that department to get this sort of level of success and that year and continue, doing it every year?
Well, let's see. That's a big question. I guess I just have to start by saying I have been at Phillips for over 16 years, or just 16 years, and I do have a really good idea on what the clientele is for the company. Additionally, two of my senior colleagues, Caroline Deck and Sarah Kruger, have worked with me for like 14 years about each respectively. And so the three of us have a very tight bond, and we really know what we're looking for and what our clients are buying. And we have enough, as I said earlier, of a different eye that we can, work together cohesively, but not have the same vision.
Yeah, it's a department ruled by women, right?
Until recently. Chris Mahoney joined our team a few years ago. And so he was a senior man to join our department. And he adds a lot of depth to it. And it was really important that he joined our team because it made us more diverse, more viewpoints, which is also really interesting. And I think we cover well in our international department, because we also have a team in London and we work as one global team, is that we have different, we have people of all different backgrounds in our department. So, by ages and nationalities, and that way people can really work with who they feel comfortable working with, because not everyone necessarily wants to work with a woman from the US. And, not everyone wants to work with a man per se. So it's really nice to be able to have that to offer clients, and they can work with who they feel most comfortable with.
Absolutely. One of the wonderful things that I admire from, this sort of modernized auction house, when I was living in New York, I used to crave to get the catalogs. They were work of art, and they still work of art. They were just so amazing. I collect them, I have them, I buy them now when I find someone that I like. But then to modernize Phillips has been an incredible also process to get friendlier to people to buy online. And now I guess through the pandemic, you have realized that sort of friendliness that the auctions houses have trying very much to achieve. You guys have done that way before.
So, I always want to credit our industry leading catalogs to Simone DePuri, who did own the company when I joined. And he also is very much a mentor to me for his passion for the art, and it always came down to the object. He cared so much about those catalogs and really defined them and made them what they are. And even though they've changed a lot from when Simone owned the company, he put that, he started that precedent of the importance of the catalog. Having said that, in the last few years, we all know digital technology is really important, and it allows us to reach a much larger amount of clients from globally and faster. So for years now, Phillips has been focusing on what we call digital first. And we were very well set up when, unfortunately, when the pandemic started, we already had all the capability and was about to push it out. So we were very much comfortable just pushing that out really fast, which was great for our clients and for the results of our sales and the artists within it.
Yeah, no, it's important to mention that, because I'm doing my gallery for a couple of years online, and I feel like, when now everybody's struggling to do online rooms and viewing rooms, I'm like, okay, I have done 40 of them, which we would like to see. It is kind of like, it's so friendly to see an English auction house, being, really close to the people. It was so easy the other day during the photograph department. A friend of mine jumped in it and I said, I want a bead. And it was just took seconds to get his credit card, his program, he was already beating. You know, that is an incredible job that your technical department have done. And then you guys are working such a great combination between London and New York, which is really, really a great success, I would say that. So now I wanted to ask you, you know, you not only curate, you know, these exhibitions, you also help through an organization that to emerging photographers in New York, right? You belong to that, you have curate shows with them. Tell us a little bit about that sort of personal part of your life, which is really motivational for everybody out there.
Okay, just to go back to digital for one thing I forgot to mention, I think really what's important right now is the convenience. People are so busy, they're multitasking, and you've just got to make it really easy for them to bid or, you know, get information on works they're interested in. So it's important that you can do everything on your phone these days. You don't have to sit at a desktop. You just need to sign into your phone and you have access to all the information that we could possibly give you. And then if we don't provide it, you click on a button and one of us will call you. And I think that's what's really important these days is the convenience for global clients, no matter what time of day, because we're 24 hours now, you know, in the global world. In regards to your question, which organization did you mention? Just so I'm clear.
Yes, I believe it's something that you've been supporting for some time, and it's just for emerging photographers in the city.
Oh, right. Okay. So the Humble Arts Foundation.
Yes.
Now, this was a few years ago, but the Humble Arts Foundation is for emerging artists to apply to. And then they put on, I was one of the people that year that was chosen to look at, I don't know if it was 1,000, but hundreds of people sent in really creative, fabulous works. And then I, along with the curators of the Humble Arts Foundation, selected some works. And then we put on a show in the Chelsea Art Museum. And that it's just really important to always keep looking at everything out there. It doesn't matter if it's a student's work, if it's an emerging photographer, if it's your neighbor. But the point is you got to keep looking because that's how you hone your eye and what you find interesting and what's new in the industry. And it just keeps your mind working and not just, you know, looking at the same things over and over and getting complacent. Which reminds me, I'm also a juror on the International Photography Awards Foundation, or not foundation, but organization. And it's the same thing. It just really keeps my mind sharp and fresh. And it allows me to see anything from portraits to landscapes to abstracts. And again, it's just honing on like, you know, is there something new in the industry? And, you know, how is that different? And how does it reference a former photographer or does it reference anybody? And again, it just helps me think about what I really want to be looking at and maybe what clients want to be looking at or what I could be presenting to people and what's out there.
And also you are part of the roadshow, you know. And yeah, you know, the other day I was just like, what she's doing as an appraisal in the roadshow. That was amazing. That was amazing. How does that work? You find treasures?
Okay, well, there's a difference between a treasure and a monetary treasure. But yeah, I started working on the roadshow about 2 years ago, and I think it's the most. I've always been a viewer of the show, and I've loved watching it. And when I was invited to join, I was really scared because, you know, I don't as an auction house we don't focus on too much 19th century, even though we do offer some. So for, you know, the literal definition of as an antique is like 100 years old, and how many works were I going to see that was 19th century versus 1920s or 1940s. Long story short, it's fabulous. I love this show.
I love it.
I meet the most incredible people. They bring in the coolest objects. You know, 75% of the time I know what I'm looking at. I can really let them know this is the value and this is a little of the background. And 25% of the time, I've never seen anything like it, and I don't think anyone has. And I think it's a learning experience, and we share what we each know, and then we do a little research, and then I come up with what I think the market actually would value it at this point, because you are appraising objects as they come to you. And I just the interaction with the people that come to the roadshow, I think is the most incredible thing in the world, and an experience I value very high in my career.
You know, when I saw that I was like, wow, great. you go, they just throw you things and you're like trying to juggle into. So it's really, talking about, and, vintage and vintage photography. I don't know, but I'm a firm belief that people are going back to treasure the past, especially in photography. I think it's a great movement of people buying, not any longer, my point of view, pictures of parking lots. They kind of go back to real serious, people who work, like, Helmut Newton, which just put him back in the map. I remember when I did a show for Helmut in Miami, I wasn't able to sell anything, and then the market kind of went down, and then suddenly, boom, you put this image. I remember I sold that after we closed the show to a collector, Alberto Chehevar, and it was under the 5 figures. And now suddenly I just talked to him last week, and he still have it at his father and mother in Aventura here in Miami. And I said, well, dear, you have $1.8 million. What does it? Fantastic. How do you rebuy the career of artists that somehow were, in a way, not, I don't know, they were a little bit, they market themselves in terms of, he didn't have a gallery. He was very afraid he wanted to sell himself, such as Peter Beer and Newton, other ones. How you are able to do that? And now I can see this, I'm sorry to go so long in this question, but I can see that now Simone is really heavy helping the Helmut Newton Foundation. How did you make that happen?
We didn't make it happen. We just select what we think are some of the most incredible works in the world, and we put values we think are fair in the current marketplace, and then we just share tons of information. I feel like that's a large part of our job, is education of the public on what we're offering. And once we've shared all this information, we have some really high caliber collectors coming forward, and they want it, and they're going to bid against each other. And, some of these prices have been set by galleries on the primary market and how they're reselling the work, and they really represent the foundation. So we're kind of just joining the big picture and playing our part. And, when the work sold, I think one of the references that you just said when you asked the question was we had a Helmut Newton diptych offered a year ago, I believe. And I think the estimate was $600,000 to $800,000, which was a very fair price for what we were offering. And the ultimate price was $1.8 million. We didn't expect it to go for $1.8 million, but we did put out all the information on this really incredible work, and it is in itself a masterpiece of any medium of the 20th century. And then we leave it to the public, which is what I love about auction. Yeah. We provide the information. We're not telling you where you should stop bidding.
It's a bit of a contradiction in a way, because you go to the roadshow and they throw you all the information, you get surprised. Then suddenly you prepare everything at the auction, then you throw it to the public. So it's like a level of thing that is quite entertaining your life, I would say.
Yeah, no, the roadshow is much more difficult because you're on the spot. You just have to share all the information you have at the moment. And as I said, I don't look at things that are monetarily very high, but historically, these photographs people are bringing me, most of them are unique, and they're really important to the history of the United States. So it's just like a different type of value that's being put on them. It is really interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible. And, another highlight of your career, many, because I believe that every auction is a highlight, in a way. I think just even to choose the cover of the catalog implies a lot. If that piece perhaps is not sold, it gets a little bit tricky. But then you imagine you choose a cover and then suddenly the piece is not sold. But here you were able to put this day 2 times auction, and from this, tell us about this particular that I don't know if you can see that, and can you see them?
It's a little blurry on my screen, but is that Sally Mann's New Mothers?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, covers are a hot topic in our department and industry, I think. Personally, I don't like to promise covers to clients as an incentive for them to consign to our sales, because for me, I need to see everything that's going to be offered in the sale and choose something that defines the sale as a whole. And I feel really strongly about that. And so I don't know what the cover is usually going to be until the sales close and I'm looking at the sale in its entirety. Um, I think Sally Mann is a fantastic contemporary photographer. I think her work's really important. I think she's already been written into the history of photography. And I think this work is one of the most charming images I've ever seen in my life. And so for our department, that's pretty much how we chose it.
Yeah, and that, you know, but that was also the collection of a fantastic woman, you know, who just was curated and selected and did incredibly well.
Yeah, you know, I can't really see what you're showing, but which collection are you referring to?
I'm gonna tell you exactly. The one we have the Sally Man image. Yes, the one that had
Um,
the Susie Donkey, I believe it was.
oh, so this image did not belong to Susie Tompkins Buell. That was a separate private collection that we
Okay.
offered.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so yeah, this image was not part of that private collection.
yeah, but that was an incredible day too. You know, that was one of the things that you mentioned in the email that you sent me. You know, talking about how important that day for you was.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yes, the Susie. There's so few really important collections that were put together, you know, in the 80s and 90s when the best material was still available in the market at a reasonable price, reasonable being debatable depending on the time and what you could afford. But she put her collection starting in the 80s and then really through the 90s paid top prices for works where even at the time what she was paying, she paid so much at the time, which is nothing compared to now what these things are selling for, that she'd be written up in the New York Times as a buyer and having paid so much for these specific photographs. You can only imagine how much she paid at the time. And it was just a really smart collection. She stopped collecting in the 90s because she said she felt like it was completed and she had everything she needed. And it was always this urban legend in the field that one day this amazing one-of-a-kind collection would be sold. So when it did come to Phillips, it really was holding these objects that are some of the best, you know, Edward Steichen's, Tina Madotti's, Dorothea Lange's, Consuelo Kanaga's that I've ever seen in my career. And they did sell for record-breaking prices and are just historical objects of, you know, a pictorial history of the U.S.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, they were just so amazing. You know, incredible images that were just iconic. You know, still and they still around, and now they actually generate better prices than ever. What is the next auction subject going to be about? The next photographic one.
Well, we're putting together two sales right now. We have a schedule that's a little different, slightly different than usual due to the pandemic. We changed around our auction schedule. So now we have on September 25th, we have our London photograph sale. On October 14th, we have our New York photograph sale. So the London sale is just going to be, you know, our classic and contemporary photographs with a special section we always include called Ultimate. And that is just a reference to it's an ultimate work from that photographer. Most of the works in our sales are 100% sold out, which is the only place you can get them is auction, which is why we're offering them. But Ultimate like takes a few and highlights them as these are super sold out. They're the most desirable in the market. Even the APs are gone. They're held in a lot of institutions around the world. And we have a highlight this year on some fashion images. I think we have Richard Avedon's Dovima with elephants, Richard Avedon's Natasha Kinski.
The Serpent, yeah.
Yeah, and Serpent. We have a Herb Ritz, his famous image of all the top models that was on French Vogue at the time, and a special section of some Stephen Klein Polaroids of some of the vaccines of his shoots, along with a unique Kate Moss, I believe, diptych. And then the New York sale, there's no theme. It's literally just fantastic contemporary and classic photographs at fair prices.
That's fantastic. What is the thing that you have not done yet that you wanted to do at the house?
Ooh, good question. I'm not sure. I do get a lot of, I do get to be creative at Phillips, which is why I've been there for so many years. For example, we partnered with British Vogue and have this incredible array of photographs by Jamie Hawksworth of frontline workers in the UK. And they were, these images graced the cover of British Vogue in July. And so for me, like, this is an extra project that I think is fantastic that I was able to work with British Vogue and put through at Phillips, and it's currently on our website. 100% of the proceeds goes to charity. And, you know, projects like that's kind of what makes it exciting for me. Working on the main auctions, doing some incredibly important charity auctions. Sometimes we've done exhibitions, for example, with Stephen Meisel. We did an exhibition that went from New York to London to Paris. It was super exciting. We had a say in what images we sold. So I'm kind of doing what I want to do. I don't know what's on the horizon. I haven't gotten there yet.
You lucky girl. What is your favorite art fair to visit and to get inspired with?
You know, I'm not one of favorites. I don't have favorite photographers. I don't have favorite photos.
You just go and everything is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I love Paris Photo. I love APAC. I love Freeze. I mean, to go to Basel in Switzerland, that's like a huge, you know, honor to be able to go there on behalf of the company and look and meet with clients. So I really just take all these different opportunities and make the best of them, and that is what I love to do.
Yeah, I went a couple of years to Paris Photo, and next door it was this amazing Irving Penn exhibition, which still dream of, you know. It's this amazing situation to be located at the same street, to have this banquet of beautiful images. So then it goes like you're already working in a place that you are, you know, are happy and free. And what is the message that you give us collectors of photography? What do you think we should go for in terms of collecting? What is your advice, you know, as a person who sets trends in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not too dull, but I really believe if you buy what you love, it's worth every penny. Because if you live with it and it inspires you and you're more creative in your life and how you act on a daily basis, that's refreshing, and that's a privilege to live with such an object. I do think that at Phillips, we're selecting what does that for us, and we're putting that in front of you. So it almost is a guide to show you what we've selected. And, you know, I feel confident that, you know, people can trust my sales, that these are things that are vetted to an extent, and we do believe in, and they do have markets. But yeah, I mean, it's all about looking. Just look everywhere, and you don't have to have a budget for that. You can go to galleries, you can go to virtual online exhibitions now. Anytime you travel to visit a relative or friend, there's going to be a museum or their own galleries. And it's just about looking and seeing what you gravitate toward, and then slowly you'll call your eye to figure out what you want to live with and enjoy. And then if you purchase it, you know, hopefully it will hold its value, and some things will go up, but I don't think that's something you could depend on.
Absolutely. That's a great advice. We really want to say thank you so much that you are taking your day to talk to us. You're a busy mom, a busy work, you know, you're always working, you know, so I really appreciate the time that you have given to us today, to the Art Design Project. I hope to see you very soon in New York, and please keep safe, and all my best, and really thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel so relieved my kids did not run in and interrupt and make silly faces behind me.
That would be the highlight of my talk, I would say. Part of talking to you, I think you know, you have such a great energy, and you know, being a mother and a person that works every day, almost 24/7. You know, it's really deserve a lot of respect. Thank you very much again.
Thank you for having me. I hope to see you
soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.